Hello, Synchronauts. Welcome to this special program. I am recording on November 11, 2025, Gregorian, and it's a special program to talk about the famous or infamous 1111 portal, to talk about it. Is it myth, reality? What should we think about it energetically? And I'm going to give you a perspective from the dream spell, actually, which is one of the main things that I work with here in Mexxicamelot. So that being said, I'm going to start sharing with you a presentation because, of course, I prepared a presentation for you guys. So the title of today's program is called 1111 Portal, Myth or Truth. And so what are we going to talk about in this video? First of all, the importance of numerology, because obviously numbers are very, very important in nature. They're the base and the foundation of creation. So numbers talk to us. Numbers tell us a lot of things. Numbers don't lie. And as Jose Arguelles used to say, God is number, all is number, God is everywhere. God is all. So if we know how to understand the synchronic language of numbers, then we can receive messages from the universe through synchronicity. So I'm going to talk about what is synchrony, what is synchronicity. Then I'm going to talk about, this is a song actually from a Mexican band called Café Tacuba. In Spanish, it's called Encantamiento Inútil. In English, it means useless spell, 1260. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that frequency of time is money. And then the last question that I'm going to ask you is, what do you choose? So this is a perspective, hoping to give you some ideas. If should we observe these so-called portals? Are they really relevant energetically or not? And this is my perspective from the point of view of the dream spell. So let's begin about talking about the importance of numerology. So what is numerology? Numerology is an ancient tool that allows us to understand the energy and meaning behind the numbers present in our lives. Each number carries unique vibrations that influence our personality, our decisions, and also the way that we relate to the world. And by exploring the numbers that surround us, from our date of birth to recurring patterns in our environment, we can discover hidden talents, cycles of growth, and opportunities to align our life with our purpose. Beyond simple calculations, numerology invites us to pay attention to the messages of the universe, through numbers, of course, and to make more conscious and harmonious choices. And so when we see repeating numbers, be on clocks, or maybe we can see it, I don't know, in a license plate, in a car, or I don't know, anywhere, maybe a t-shirt. When you see these repeating numbers such as 1111, 222, or 333, these are considered signs from the universe that draw our attention to key aspects of our lives. From a numerological perspective, these sequences are not mere coincidences, but messages that invite us to reflect, make conscious decisions, or recognize the energetic patterns around us. Observing these numbers carefully allows us to connect with our intuition, understand our purpose, and align with the opportunities for growth and transformation that the cosmos offers. They are subtle reminders that we are on the right path and that every experience holds a deeper meaning. So that being said, numerology can help us to recognize and understand synchronicities, those moments when seemingly random coincidences reveal a deeper order in our lives. Each number carries a unique vibration that may appear repeatedly or in meaningful ways, guiding us towards important decisions, lessons, or encounters. By paying attention to these numerical patterns, we develop a more conscious connection with the flow of the universe, discovering that nothing happens by chance and that every experience, every sign is an invitation to grow, to align with our purpose, and to trust the wisdom that surrounds us. So obviously, when we are born, we have a date of birth according to the Gregorian calendar. And when we do the calculations based on that number of the day we are born, we can receive certain information. Now, for those of us who follow the dream spell, because we are thinking about a different frequency for time, instead of time is money, time is art, we look into the 13 moon synchronometer as our measure of time. However, we have to recognize that there is some validity and truth to numerology related to the Gregorian calendar. And we can also use other kinds of systems that use numbers, such as astrology, which is a more natural measurement of time. And we measure actually the movement of the different planets related to Earth and to certain zodiac signs according to the moment when we are born. And according to astrology as well, my birthday is not always repeated on the same day, Gregorian day, and the Gregorian hour that I was born into. It is connected to the number of degrees and minutes where the sun was at the same moment of my birth. That is what we call the solar return. So these are different types of points of view where we can start doing numerological analysis. And obviously the dream spell is all about numbers, and numbers as a synchronic language that is very precise and very harmonic. So this being said, let's talk about what is synchrony and what is synchronicity. So synchrony, the word synchrony refers to a coincidence in time or the simultaneity of events. Above all, it is a manifestation of order in the known universe and is especially related to time. It comes from the Greek etymology syn, meaning together or at the same time, and from Greek mythology chronos, meaning time. It would be illogical to think that things happen by chance, since we know that for any phenomenon to occur, several factors must come together to create it. And for those factors to exist, other causes are also required. It's like a domino effect. Things don't just happen because. There are reasons behind it. There is a causality behind it. There's a cause. Now, this information I took from the book Synchronicity, The Bridge Between Matter and Mind by F. David Pitt. It's a great book if you can get it. He's a physicist, if I am correct in what I remember. And he talks about where does this word come from, no? So the true story of synchronicity begins with the collaboration of two extraordinary thinkers, the psychologist Carl Jung and the physicist Wolfgang Pauli. Their concept of synchronicity originated from the union between the principles of physics and psychology. The lives and works of these two men contain the seed that would evolve and enrich the concept of synchronicity. So let's talk a little bit about Carl Jung. He was born in the Swiss village of Guebwiller in 1875, and after a solitary childhood filled with illness and an introverted tendency toward dreams and fantasies, he emerged into a robust, heavy-drinking, extroverted medical student. And Jung chose psychiatry as his field of specialization. And while working at the famous, I'm sure I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, so I apologize in advance, Burgilsy Clinic, the young doctor began to correspond with Sigmund Freud, whose interpretation of dreams showed how the internal content of the unconscious mind can be pieced together. So if you've read about or heard about Jung and Freud, you know that they worked together. Freud was Jung's teacher, but at some point, their opinions on certain topics were different. So each took their own way and developed their own psychological branch, so to speak. So coming back to synchronicity, at first, there were only a few tantalizing hints as to Jung's thoughts on synchronicity. In 1929, while lecturing to a group of students, Jung said, "Synchronicism is a prejudice of the East. Causality is a modern prejudice of the West." And a year later, during a memorial address on the death of Richard Wilhelm, the noted student of Chinese thought, Jung expanded a little on his original remark. He said, "The science of the I Ching, indeed, is not based on the causality principle, but on a principle hitherto unnamed because not met with us. Which I have tentatively called the synchronistic principle." During a lecture at London's Tavistock Clinic 5 years later, Jung appears to have used the term synchronicity for the first time. Tao can be anything. I use another word to designate it, but it is poor enough. I call it synchronicity. Now, I followed and still listen to the teachings of Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he used to say that the Tao is not something that you can define. And if you're defining it, then it's not the Tao anymore. And it's really interesting that Jung chose to use the word synchronicity to refer to the same principle. And there's a synchronicity in there because Wayne Dyer, his galactic signature in the dream spell is white magnetic wind, which happens to be the same one as mine. So we are galactic twins. But the synchronicity is that precisely Jung was a white cosmic wizard, which is the last position in the wave spell of the wind to which these two men belong. Wayne Dyer at the beginning and then Carl Jung at the very end. But to add another very interesting synchronicity in terms of the dream spell, I can also tell you that obviously you've heard about Sting and the Police. So the Police wrote these two songs called Synchronicity 1 and 2. If you haven't listened to the lyrics of especially Synchronicity 1, please do so because it talks precisely about these things. And the synchronicity there is that Sting is also a white magnetic wind. So why did he feel this impulse to write a song about synchronicity? Because he belongs to the same wave spell as Jung does. So that's an interesting synchronicity right there. Okay. So now what about Jung and Pauli? How did they meet? They met through a psychological therapy relationship because Jung was Pauli's therapist. But thanks to Pauli, Jung was able to crystallize his ideas further. And in 1952, the two men published together The Interpretation and Nature of the Psyche, a book containing two essays, one by Pauli on the influence of archetypes in Kepler's theory of planetary motion, and the other by Jung on the nature of synchronicity. Within this essay and certain of Jung's other writings, synchronicity is variously referred to as the coincidence in time of two or more causally unrelated events which have the same or similar meaning, which are also creative acts or acausal parallelisms. He also wrote that meaningful coincidences are unthinkable as pure chance. The more they multiply and the greater and more exact the correspondences, they can no longer be regarded as pure chance, but for the lack of causal explanation, have to be thought of as meaningful arrangements. There are some things that you cannot explain and they just happen. I'm going to share with you a synchronicity that happened to me recently that could fall into the category of also manifestation, although it wasn't really my purpose. So I live in central Mexico. I have a big house, thank God. I live with my dad. He's my roomie. We have a big home and a big garden. And so we were thinking about adopting a dog, you know? And I saw this dog, a female dog, black dog with one blue eye and one brown eye. She was gorgeous. And I said, I want that puppy. And I showed it to my dad. And I said, it was on a Facebook post with one of the rescue organizations in my city. And I told him, hey, what do you think? Do you want to have, what do you think about this one? Because we were discussing about adopting a dog. And she said, yeah, that's good. And so he contacted this group, but they never replied. And so I thought, well, I don't think that it was meant to be. If it was meant to be, it would have like happened. But I thought to myself, I didn't tell this to anybody. I thought to myself, if it's God's will and the universe's will that a dog should come into this house to live with us and have a good life, then it should be a dog just like that one, a black dog with a brown eye and a blue eye. And then I will know that it's God's will. And so I just forgot about it. So that was like 3 months ago, something like that. And then almost 3 weeks ago, somebody rings at my house. Somebody rings the bell. And I was expecting my youngest brother, who is married and has 2 children, 1 baby actually. And I was expecting them. I knew that they would come and I would see the baby. And so I go and open the door. And my niece, who's 10 years old, she's way older, she was holding this black puppy, a girl, a female, with 1 brown eye and 1 blue eye, just as I had described it, and just the same almost as the picture of the other dog that I saw on Facebook a couple of months before that. When I saw that dog, I was like, okay, nobody knew about the thought that I sent out to the universe. I didn't tell my brother, I didn't tell anybody. There was no way my brother would know. And to make things even more fun, there was another dog available for adoption, but they chose that one. And they brought it over to my house. Like she just arrived at my doorstep. And that blows my mind. Like I'm still assimilating this synchronicity. And I was like, wow, it could fall into the realm of manifestation, but it's connected to synchronicity because it was so freaking precise. I still don't know what that is about. Like I'm still like flabbergasted. My guests have been flabbered. I'm still trying to understand that, but synchronicity is very real. It can come through different signs or different events, people, a song, smell, numbers. It could be through many other ways and it has no explanation. Now, coming back to Jung's investigations into synchronicity, they were prompted by the various patterns and causal clusterings that had occurred in his own life. A particular example, which is recorded in his essay on synchronicity, deals with the motive of the fish. Now, I'm sharing with you this story of the fish because if you have read about Jung or you have heard about him, probably you know about the one related to the beetle, but this is a different one. In many European countries, April the 1st is referred to as April Fish Day or April Fool's Day, right? On that particular day, Jung happened to be working on the symbolism of the fish, and when his patient arrived, Jung was shown a picture of a fish and a piece of embroidery with a fish on it. On the following day, another patient told him of a dream of a large fish that had occurred the night before. And then, while writing down these accounts, Jung went for a walk beside the lake and he saw a large fish. So the fish was trying to say something to Jung because it came in different moments, no? And it was like very random, but at the same time, there was a significance behind it, no? So, talking about synchronicity and synchrony, how are causes coordinated to result in a specific event? As human beings, we often forget that we are constantly influencing our world through our thoughts, words, and actions. We are continuously creating the situations we experience day by day, while at the same time, millions of people around the world are also doing so, all interacting simultaneously. And this has to do with the dream spell, which I will tell you about in a moment. José Argüelles discovered that a dream spell is a consensed reality between two or more people. So this has to do with that. It would be difficult to find any personal symbolism or lesson in a particular experience since, due to the limitations of our sensory perceptions and our mind, we cannot know the causes that gave rise to that experience. But in this case, we have a tool which is the Tzolk'in, the dream spell, because it holds the codes of time through which we can decipher a personal and or social event and interpret its meaning as a learning experience. We have this synchronic language. There are others. Obviously, here in Mexxicamelot, I talk a lot about this one in particular because that's the one that I normally use. Now, through the study of the dream spell, we come to understand the energies that influence the synchronization of one event with another, and this serves as a tool for our personal development. For example, imagine all the events that had to align perfectly for you to meet someone important in your life. I can assure you there are countless factors. Now, ask yourself, why did you meet that particular person and not someone else? Did this person act as a life experience that helped you grow? Why was this person so special, and why, even if you try to recreate the situation, do you not get the same results? I could change all these questions for this synchronic story that I told you about the dog, no? Why did that happen as it did? I don't know. There's magic behind that, and that's the magic of synchronicity and synchrony. Now, something else you can ask yourself, have you learned new ways of acting, or are you still repeating the same behavioral patterns? And are you aware of all of these, or had you never asked yourself before about these things? Now, we know that human beings are shaped by all the experiences we have lived. Everything contributes to forming who we are. Most of all, the experiences we share with others influence us deeply, as they teach us patterns of behavior that we integrate into our personality to react in specific ways to certain stimuli. And this can be unconscious, or we can become aware of that and change it. So for these reasons and many more, the study of the Tzolk'in or the dream spell serves as an important tool for self-knowledge, personal development, and social harmony. You can use that, astrology, any other tool that helps towards this. We can go and find them and then break free from the unconscious, right? Now, this image is in Spanish, but I will translate it for you because I don't have it in English, and because I'm pressed with time, I couldn't organize myself to record this before, and I apologize for that. But here it is. Here's the translation. Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see. So Carl Jung said that. So how are you going to see synchronicities? If you have a particular number language, for instance, as we have with the dream spell, or if you see the archetypes or the images, the signs, and you are open to seeing them, then the universe will start talking to you, and then you can interact with it in a more conscious way. Now, let's go to what I was telling you. Use this spell 206, like it's a spell. this frequency is helping us, not helping us, it's rather subduing us to a life of slavery in our minds. Because Arguelles also said that he who owns your time owns your mind. And if your time is focused on earning money, then your mind is only thinking about it, and then you miss out on life. So let's talk about the dream spell. What is a dream spell? I already told you that one of the things that Arguelles realized was that any consensual reality that 2 or more people agree on, that's a dream spell. But also talking about precisely the tool of the dream spell as a language of synchronic order, it was a game created by Jose Arguelles in the late 80s and early 90s, and shortly after it was gifted to humanity. So there were these kits. I have some I don't have any in English, I have them in Spanish. And he made sure that people would get this for free. So he got donations, and they were printed actually in Hong Kong. And some people still have them. Others, sadly, I know that many people got rid of them, which is a pity. But anyways, so the dream spell is a tool of the law of time. What does the law of time say? Instead of thinking that time is money, Jose Arguelles proposes that time is art. That means that if you let time do its thing in nature, it will only create beautiful works of art. So it's something that we can apply to our lives to transform them. If we change the way we live time, then we change our lives. Learning about the dream spell allows us to experience the synchronic order. That is the reality of the 4th dimension, the realm of the 1320 time. 13 refers to the 13 tones of creation, which is the feminine energy, and 20 solar seals, which refers to a masculine energy. We have that integrated in our bodies, and also we can find it in the different parts of nature. I'm not going to extend myself on this, it's just a little thing to understand what is a dream spell. Now, what is this game about, and why is it called this way? To answer these questions, we must place ourselves within the context of the law of time, the integral system of knowledge of real-time 1320. That's the frequency that codifies the whole thing. One of the fundamental points of the law of time states that humanity lost its natural ability for telepathy and experience of the synchronic order of reality, beginning with the start of the historical cycle on August 13, 3113 before Christ, when the so-called time theft took place at the hands of the Babylonian priests whose egoic motivations were instigated by Iblis. So what this means, there are lots of books by Jose Arguelles, you can check them out, but in a nutshell, people started using a solar system of reference for keeping time that completely obliviated the feminine side and the lunar cycles. This was more related to a solar cycle that became, when the time became mechanic with the clock, and then we will see it here. It's a frequency of 1260. What does it mean? In short, the natural time frequency 1320, 20 solar seals and 13 tones of creation, what I just said, was replaced by the artificial frequency 1260, which became the basis for measuring and recording time through a 12-month calendar and 60-minute hours. So the thing is, the calendar, the Gregorian calendar, first of all, go check out what is the origin of the word calendar and what it means, because that's what's keeping us still switched on to the idea of time is money. And then we have 12 months of irregular duration. Some months last 28, like February, sometimes 28, sometimes 29 days. Then we have months of 30 or 31 days, and the hours of 60 minutes. And you can hear the mechanism, no? Just the machine going tick, tick, tick. I don't know, like I can't be in a physical place with a clock that is ticking because, for example, I have not slept with a clock for a long time because I listened to that and I felt that I was like, literally that I was losing life just by listening to that. And so with this frequency, what we do is we live an irregular time because, for example, right now I'm recording this on November, Gregorian November. And if I ask you what number of month is this, you would say it's the 11th month of the year. Then why are you saying November? Because November comes from 9. That's the Latin word, like from nova, November, nueve in Spanish. So it's like you're saying in your mouth that you're in the 9th month, but in your mind, you're in the 11th month, and there is an incongruence between what you're thinking and what you're saying. So if you have an incongruence in the way that you're talking about time and you're thinking about time, then the whole thing is going to inform all of your life, and there will be total incongruence all over the place. So this is why Arguelles said that with this time theft, humanity was virtually inoculated with an amnesic virus that made us forget our divine origin and our right to experience harmony and unity with all beings and with Hunaku. Hunaku is the one giver of movement. In Kabbalah, it would be the equivalent of God before God became matter, no? So it's the one God before creation, where we're all unified. And here in Hunaku, we can see the duality is implicit in it. The duality that happened when we decided to incarnate and become part of the adventure of life. So now let's go to the question, what do you choose? If I already told you that the Gregorian calendar is keeping us in a frequency where time equals money, and you are disconnected from reality and disconnected from yourself and disconnected from natural cycles, and you have other ways of following time. I mean, it could be any other time count that is connected to natural cycles, just like the Jewish calendar or also the Islamic calendar. There are many other calendars that connect with nature. So whatever brings you closer to nature, that's the best. And actually, we don't call it Mayan calendar because it's not a calendar, it's a synchronometer. So this is the Galactic Mayan synchronometer. That's how I call it, because it helps us synchronize to our reality in terms of time and how we are connected to creation through that. And it's easier to track synchronicities through this synchronic language of the Tzolk'in, of the Galactic Mayan, of the dream spell. And so knowing all these things that I've told you, do you choose to continue observing portals that have nothing to do with nature, that have nothing to do with any astrological impact or like some big event? It doesn't make any sense. You're only continuing to empower and giving energy to the frequency of time is money, because you are feeding a calendar. You're feeding the idea of a measurement of time that keeps alienating us from our true nature. Now, I'm not saying that you should abandon completely the calendar count, because it's impossible. I don't think that that's possible, at least not now. So what I propose is you have one foot in one frequency and one in the other. So don't let the time is money frequency dictate your life, but try to connect more with the time is art frequency in any way that you can, knowing that the other frequency exists, because most people are living in the other frequency. But I would ask to you, and I don't know, like this is also a message for all the people who have followed the dream spell, and if they are still like considering participating in rituals or anything related to the calendar, the Gregorian calendar, like the 11/11 day or whatever, when it has no astrological importance, or there is, for example, maybe it's a galactic activation portal in the dream spell, or maybe it's a Winal day or something, like there is no other important energetic synchronicity to really say this is a day where we really can say something big is happening and it deserves me putting my energy, my meditations, and my love into it, then are you sure you want to keep feeding that frequency or not? So this is up to you. I'm just offering you this other information so that you can make up your own mind and decide whatever you want. Whatever you want to do is fine. If you want to keep observing these portals, that is fine. But to me, they make no sense because there is no real energetic or synchronistic value to them, in my opinion, according to all the information that I just shared with you. But you're free to do as you choose. But think about it. Do you want to keep feeding the same energy where time is money, and then because money is worth more than a person's life, we are in the chaos that we are in? Just think about it, right? And anyways, I just want to say thank you, Synchronauts, for being here, for following the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Go check out also my Instagram page. And if you can follow me, I would be very thankful because I would really like to do lives, but there was a change now in Instagram. I cannot do lives. And I want to be there to do some free readings for people who want to know what their kin is. Also follow us on Facebook. We're on Threads and also TikTok, although that one is really abandoned. But anyways, I hope that you like this alternative vision of time, that you enjoy it. And tell me if you have had any synchronistic, interesting stories, just like the one that I shared. And also like, because it can happen as well, even in these portals, maybe people will have synchronicities. Why? I mean, I'm not discarding it completely, but I'm also thinking that that's not really very congruent of me if I follow the dream spell count to try and continue empowering a time is money frequency in my personal case. But maybe interesting synchronicities could happen because you're going with the energy of the numbers, and numbers are one of the biggest synchronic languages of the universe. So tell me in comments, what do you think? Have you had any important synchronicities you would like to share with us? And I will see you very soon. We will have more content coming up. We have in English and Spanish. If you want to practice your Spanish or learn, you can check it out. Or also we have the subtitles that can be translated into English by YouTube. So check it out. It's really interesting. I'd love to hear from you, your Synchronauts. So thank you so much for being here. Many kisses and hugs, and see you until next time. Bye.